With the NFL draft now only 5 days away, and having already talked about the first round of the draft, I figured we should probably talk about the remainder of the draft. Obviously, we all know there's 7 rounds, and I'm only going to be covering the Chargers as I did in the last video because that is my team, clearly. So if you're a Chargers fan, go ahead and watch through this. If you're not, but you do enjoy talking about the draft and possibly learning about some maybe late round gems or people you haven't heard of and how well they play, then go ahead and stick through this video. I would highly appreciate it. But we're going to be going through the remaining rounds of the NFL draft for the Chargers, who I would like them to pick, who is most likely to be there, and all that sort of stuff. So if this is your first time on the channel, my name is John. This is the Sports Advocate. Give me a like, give me a dislike, give me some criticism down below. Subscribe if you like this content. I have content like this daily. And how about comment who is your favorite late round gem in the draft? Who in the 5th round or later would you like the Chargers to get that maybe isn't talked about as much as you like them, as much as you think they're worth? But nonetheless, let's go ahead and get right into this. So quick note here. Normally I have a whiteboard that I look at, and it's pretty seamless, pretty easy. You don't really notice it. Well, with the amount of players and all that stuff, like I have a notebook now that for just this episode that I'm using. So I might look down at this notebook real quick and then talk. I'm not going to be staring at this thing, but it's my point of reference for names because there's too many names to remember all on top of my head. So last video we talked about the first round, pick number 17, the most likely players you could pick there, who will fall, some percentages and all that stuff. And I really enjoyed that video making it, and it seems like a lot of you guys really enjoyed it, so I'm happy about that. Obviously, the Chargers don't have a round number 2 pick at this current moment. Now, they may trade back and end up getting one, but at this very moment, they do not have a second round pick. So we're going to jump right to the 3rd round of the draft. They have pick number 79. We're going to do it. I have a set number of players, and it depends per round based on how many picks or how many people I think are worth it or might fall. And in the later rounds, I'm going to lower the amount of information I'm going to be giving out, just because later rounds, when we get the player, I talk about them, but there's no point in me going super in depth round 3 all the way through 7 on all the players I like. So in those later rounds, it would be like 2 points and then have some honorable mentions, because in those later rounds, Chargers have a lot more picks, a lot more options, players could fall, all that stuff. But round 3, pick number 79, first person I've listed is Kingsley Engabear. What a name. Edge out of South Carolina. So I know a lot of people don't think the Chargers really needed edge, especially that early on, but I think he can work in a lot of different ways. Not only could he be a backup, but he works well in a 3-4 or a 4-3. He can play standing upright or in the 3-point position. He's pretty good all around, I think. Now, again, you don't need to go edge that early, but I think he can work really well, and he's very good at dropping back into zone and also pursuing the quarterback and all that stuff. And that's a lot of great traits, especially early on in the draft. The only thing is who else would be there, but I think he's well worth it if some of these other players I'm going to mention aren't there. Very, very talented. Again, though, do you want to go edge that early? That's all kind of bias-related stuff. Okay, yep, covered him. Next up, my personal favorite, I think, for the 3rd round is Kobe Bryant, quarterback out of Cincinnati. Obviously, you have Sauce Gardner coming out of there as well. Going to go in the 1st round, possibly top 10, possibly top 5 pick. Very, very talented, but just sitting across from him, you had Kobe Bryant, and he obviously looked over when you have Sauce Gardner, and going to be to high levels of comparisons when you're named after someone as legendary as Kobe Bryant. Obviously, it's not spelt the same, but nonetheless. So, Kobe Bryant, he's very good at his route running trees. Obviously, he's a cornerback, but like understanding the route running trees, noticing key points and all that stuff, and being able to get in the way of passes after he figures out what kind of route you're going to be running. He's also very good in coverage. I feel like he does well in man and in zone. I feel like Cincinnati ran a little bit more zone than I believe the Chargers will this year. But nonetheless, he looks very, very good in man, very confident in man. He's able to get to the ball very well. He has really good hips, rotating hips, dropping back in coverage. He stays pretty low when he's backpedaling too, which is all very, very good news, especially in man coverage. And lastly, that's it. Great hips, and he's very good at understanding the routes. And he's personally my favorite in the third round by far, just primarily because I don't actually see a cornerback falling to the Chargers at pick number 17 that's worthwhile in the first round. Now, if you get Stingley or Booth or something like that, I completely change who I want in the third round. But at this moment, I'm assuming it's going to be an offensive lineman or a wide receiver. So I think Kobe Bryant would be a good person to fit in there. I think he could be that cornerback 3 spot and push Michael Davis down, or he's still a really, really good backup cornerback 4, which is something you need. Great depth. There's always injuries, and especially with the COVID stuff, and we're not sure how that's going to work in the NFL, even though a lot of the stuff has been toned down. We don't know if you're still going to be taken out. We just saw that with the NBA recently in the playoffs, some coaches going out. So I think it would be very, very helpful. Next up, we have Calvin Austin, the third wide receiver out of Memphis. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about him. He's very, very fast, very, very quick, which is exactly what the Chargers are looking for, is a fast cornerback. Oh my gosh. Why am I even saying that? A fast wide receiver for the quarterback, Justin Herbert, who has a very, very explosive arm, along with the wide receivers of Keenan, who has great route running, and Mike, who's amazing at the 50-50 ball. Another thing is Calvin Austin is very good at the route tree. All 3 levels, I would argue. Not only is he fast, but he's able to make breaks on the ball, on routes, all that stuff, which is very, very good news. Incredibly fast. He is small. He's 5'7", about 170. Smaller, that's some people's worries, but I think he makes good use of it. He's able to make plays on the ball, even though he's smaller, and still come down with those kind of contested catches, even at a small size. And he was used very well as a gadget, which I could see with the Chargers, whether that's swing routes, you're running screens, you're pulling him over and handing the ball off to him on a big route across, anything like that, which is very, very useful. We've seen plenty of gadget players, Taysom Hill, Deebo Samuel, even Austin Eckler is almost like a gadget player, that become almost the one of the most important reasons why an offense works, because they're able to make the defense question them. So if he's able to come in and do that for the Chargers, that is very, very good news. I have 2 more listed here. They're pretty close to the same when you're discussing what they're capable of, what they're doing. So I'm just going to list both. We have Abraham Lucas, offensive tackle out of Washington State, and Ed Ingram, interior O-line out of LSU. They're both very, very good at pass blocking, and I think they would both become practically instant starters on this team, or just really, really good depth. They pretty much fit the same mold, different positions, obviously, but with a team that has some empty spots at the tackle and guard, just one spot, I guess, for each position. Very well could be used. Again, pass blocking is something you really want to improve with Justin Herbert. I feel like Eckler is always going to find space, no matter how good the run blocking is. I mean, look how good he was doing when we still had a bad offensive line. So I'm not too worried about that. Obviously, you want to improve it, but I think pass blocking is the biggest thing. Give Herbert more time to find the open man down the field. You're always going to find space, and that's a big use. And especially when you're drafting someone that's in the 3rd round that can still be an instant starter. That's huge, huge improvement. Next up, round 4, pick 123. First things first, we have Marquise Hayes, offensive guard out of Oklahoma. He's a very, very good run blocker, which kind of the opposite of the person I just mentioned previously. But he's still quite good at the pass blocking, but his talent at run blocking, his ability to move up to the second line and go get a linebacker, all that stuff, it's very, very clear that he is extremely good at the run blocking, which when you have people like Slater and Lindsley and all that stuff who are phenomenal at pass blocking and run blocking, you could bring in someone that's maybe a little subpar on the pass blocking just to really improve that run blocking, because you're going to have help on both sides of you, and that's very good news. And he's very quick for his size. He takes very long strides, and that's something, again, that's going to help him a lot in that running game, getting up to the linebackers. Next up, we got Donovan Knight, running back out of North Carolina State. His nickname is Bam. It doesn't really, it pertains to his younger years, doesn't really pertain quite exactly what you'd assume it does to his actual football career. He's very, very consistent. I think average 5.5 yards per carry. He's always getting the same amount of yards per season, pretty close. Very, very consistent. He does have the capability to be a physical running back. Bam. But I don't feel like that's the way he leans most towards. He makes a lot of people miss, which is, obviously you see me looking down on this. That's why I wrote, makes a lot of people miss. Constantly in open field or not, he's able to make people miss. He was top 10, top 5 running backs in last year for making missed tackles and all that stuff. So he kind of fits more like the Eckler role, which is why I'm not super high on him, but I could still see him going in round 4 if you just really want to take a risk at a running back. But I think they want to lean a little bit towards the power back or a mix of both, and I do have somebody that I really like coming up for that. Next up, we have John Ridgeway, defensive tackle out of Arkansas. Probably my favorite pick for round 4 if he is available. He made a very good transition. He switched colleges halfway through his career, made an extremely fluent transition to Arkansas, and that's a lot of good news, especially when you're talking about the NFL. If you're able to switch from one division, one team, and all that stuff to another team in college, you would probably assume that your transition is going to be quite well into the NFL, which is all very, very good news. He's very lengthy and strong. He has a good wingspan, and he uses it very well and gets into people and stays into them, which obviously very good news, especially at defensive tackle when you're probably getting double teamed if you're playing nose tackle and stuff like that in 3-4. So good news, having length, having strength. He's able to really hold. It doesn't seem like he's getting pushed and moved very easily, which, again, is great news. That means he can absorb double teams, stuff like that, make opportunities for linebackers on running plays, and make opportunities for Khalil Mack or Joey Bosa on passing plays, which is all very, very good news. Next up, round 5, they have pick 160. The man I am about to mention right now is probably my favorite running back option for the Chargers. Now, he's not perfectly physical. There's some better options, obviously. There's an Alabama running back that's going to go a little bit earlier, round 3, round 4. But I think, personally, my favorite running back for the Chargers of a scheme-wise fit, not the most physical, but I think it works well, is Pure Strong Jr. out of SDSU. No, not San Diego, South Dakota State University. He's a running back. I think the thing that I like about him most is he's very, very good vision, extraordinarily fast. I feel like he's always just zooming out of random holes. So he's very good at delaying time, finding an opening, using his vision to find the opening, get through the opening, and then he's just taking off. But one thing that he can use his physicality. That's not his highest strength, but he can be very physical and blow up people. He's trucked people before. So I think he fits the physical role a little bit more than Eckler does, and he has the ability to fight through tackles like Eckler does, not at the capability of Austin Eckler. But he brings a little bit of physicality, but I think the reason why I really strongly like him is his blocking. He was used a lot as a lead blocker or in passing game for blitzes coming out of nowhere, stuff like that. He was very, very good at standing his ground, absorbing the rush, or if he's lead blocking, getting into a guy. And he really stays into him, and a lot of times once he's into you, it seems like people aren't getting off of him, which I really, really enjoyed watching. So personally, I think Pierre Strong Jr. is my favorite running back for the Chargers to draft in this year, especially at round 5. I could see him going maybe a little bit higher or lower, So I just went with the middle at round 5. So next up, we have a controversial take, but the Chargers don't have a punter right now. I think you all know where I'm going with this. Matt Ariza. What the heck? Matt Ariza out of SDSU. This time, yes, San Diego State University. Incredible punter. He has 2 punts over 80-plus yards. Incredible to watch. Definitely the most consistent punter. He's always kicking over 50 yards. And what that brings to the team, the Chargers, is incredible. When you have a defense that is improved and could be phenomenal like the Chargers do now, having, say you go 3 and out at the 20 or you only get like 1 first down, you're at the 30 or 40, he can kick that thing. He's a cannon of a leg. He'll kick that thing and get you a touchback. And now you have a Chargers defense that is looking very, very good with the touchback in hand and all that stuff. I know it's controversial, but I like him. And he's great at kickoffs and at normal field goals. My cat is going crazy back there, sorry. In practice, he's kicking 50-plus yard field goals consistently. That's amazing. And he's an extremely good kickoff specialist. Onside kicks, high kicks, all that stuff. Phenomenal. I know, yes, he's a punter. He's not going to actually be a kicker. But I know round 5. But come on, this is definitely the best punter in the entire draft. And that's something that the Chargers have been struggling with. So maybe if some of these other people aren't there, you take a risk on them, and I would be very happy with them even if it's a round 5 pick and there maybe is better options to make the overall team better. But, I mean, if you're a Chargers fan, you're a real Chargers fan, just think back like a decade ago when the Chargers had the best offense, the best defense in the league, and missed the playoffs because how terrible their special teams was. Let me just remind you that real quick. That brings a lot of pain to me. But I don't want another scenario like that. So let's just take the risk on round 5 and bring in a punter. That simple. It's that simple for me. Next up, though, Smoke Monday. You know, I have him at round 5 here in my drafts, which, by the way, I'm using Pro Football Network for how I got the positions in the draft and all that stuff. Round numbers, all that. So if you're using like PFF or something like that and you're like, wow, this guy went way earlier in my draft or way later, I'm just using what I'm using, and some people are going to rate people much higher. But Smoke Monday, I have him in the 5th round. He's a safety out of Auburn. Yep, Auburn. He's super versatile. He's shown his capability on special teams, which is something, again, that I've been preaching. Bring special team options that can also play. But he's super versatile. He's a safety, but he definitely plays like a linebacker. You can put him up in the box. He's great at reading the quarterback. He's great at breaking on balls and zone coverage, all that sorts of stuff. Super, super versatile. And he has this alpha mentality, this Mamba mentality. I know that phrase is a little bit overused, but he is always trying to be the best man on the field, and that's something you love to see, especially when you got someone like Derwin and J.C. Jackson out there in the DBs with you. He can definitely improve massively, and if he still has that mentality, along with Derwin, who has a very similar mentality, they could raise each other up so much. So I think if you draft him in the 5th round, you're not really drafting him as a safety, and especially in Staley's defensive schemes, he's bringing safeties up into the box a lot more. So even though he will be playing safety, he might be more of a linebacker position, which is why I think I could see him getting picked here around 5. Next up, Chasen Hines, offensive guard, LSU. At this point, if you're getting guards or anything, if you're getting linemen, you're probably getting for depth, and that's what this guy is. He could be great depth. He's very good. In college, he was very good. But I think he'd be depth if he wanted the Chargers. He can be a guard or a center. He played both. And that's something that you very much like in the depth. And he could become a starter. I'm not saying he couldn't. He could definitely become a starter at that guard position. But if he is a depth piece and he can run guard or center, great news, especially in the 5th round. You're not going to find huge, spectacular talent in the 5th round consistently. Obviously, there is some cases of that, but consistently you're not going to. So Now you're looking at depth. From 5th round on, you're probably looking at depth. Now, obviously, like Matt Ariza, the punter, and Pierre Strong was in the 5th round. Their Pierre Strong's planned depth. He's planned to be an RB2 in my opinion. I think he's definitely capable of going much higher. I could see him going in the late 3rd, early 4th, maybe even higher. I think he's very, very talented, but the PFN had him in the 5th round. So if we got him in the 5th round, I'd be very happy. And with Ariza, that's the highest the punter's going to go is round 5. He clearly a top-tier punter in the league once he enters the league, but he's going to fall to round 5. No one's picking him super early just because he's a punter. Next up, we're not. I have one more in round 5. My cat just jumped in the window. Obina Easy. I probably said his name all wrong. Offensive tackle, LSU. Super good potential. Again, at this point, you're probably drafting him back up. He's really good potential, and he's a lot of length, which he uses very well for leverage, which is very good news. I wouldn't say he's top tier in passing or run blocking. I think he's very good at he's quite good at both. But again, he has great potential. I could see him improving a lot. Next up, round 6. This is about the time where I'm going to list a couple players and then give you honorable mentions at the bottom and just really, really start to shorten the amount of information I'm handing out because this video would be 40 minutes long if I went through it, especially with the fact that the Chargers have more picks in these later rounds. Round 6, Chargers have pick 195 and 214. Obviously, if there's trade, stuff like that, that's a different story. But I will tell you my favorite option right now in this round 6, who could easily become, that was really loud, I hope that didn't pop my mic, easily become very, very good backup, very good depth, is Amari Barno. I hope I said his name right. I really enjoy Amari Barno. He's very athletic, very explosive, super, super good pursuit. He's an edge, but yeah, he's good at dropping in the zone. Very capable of dropping in the zone. He is everything you want in a backup edge, and he reminds me a lot of Uchenna Nwosu, who's no longer on the team, but he reminds me a lot of Uchenna, and the way I could easily see his potential skyrocketing and become that guy that makes that crazy play in the playoffs that no one's expecting and stuff like that, like Uchenna did against the Ravens. Great pick here in the 6th round, if you ask me. I could see him easily going higher. Next up, he's out of Virginia Tech. Next up, we have Taylor Munford. I hope I said that right. It looks like I switched some things around. I switched colleges and stuff. I think he's offensive guard out of Ohio State. Don't quote me on that because I wrote edge next to him. I don't know what I was doing. He's very strong. He's very good leverage. A lot of length. Again, at this point, you're drafting for depth. But with how the guard position on the team's looking, you could probably see him becoming a late season starter if he grows into his potential. And I think most of these people at this point, you're drafting for potential and depth. And I think he has potential to do that. Next up, Justin Schaefer, offensive guard, Georgia. Great pancake ability. He has a lot of strength, and he will just keep on pushing through you. I think he can possibly become a very good pancake monster at depth, or just a big help in practice to really show the capabilities against the defense on some strong guards and make the defense work through it. Definitely pancake ability. Great help. He has this crazy help mentality where if he is kind of waiting for someone to come at him and maybe the tackle or someone next to him struggling and it looks like someone's about to go through, he will just run into the defensive player and just ram into him and shove him over. You love to see someone with really good mentality of just helping others when they don't really have much to do. And the way he does it is he'll shove them, whether he shoves them over or just kind of helps get him back into the other player. He's immediately back in his stance, back in his position, and you really enjoy to see that. Again, probably depth at this point, but he has very good pass protection. Very good pass protection, and again, that's a big thing with the helping defense. I think he could, depending on when O'Day or if O'Day gets re-signed, definitely be a starter. If not, he, again, great depth. I'm preaching that like crazy right now, but that's what it is. Next up, Danny Gray, wide receiver, SMU. Very, very fast. He's very good body control. Again, if you haven't drafted a wide receiver early on, you want some speed to go along with Keenan and with Herbert's huge cannon of an arm. Great pick right here, Gray. And he's good body control. He finds a way to get to the ball even when he's out of position and find a way to get down and get his feet in. Something that you really, really enjoy to see. Honorable mentions right here. Not going to really have any details on them. Just honorable mention. Max Mitchell, offensive tackle. Vincent Gray, cornerback. Luke Giodecki, offensive guard. And Abram Smith, running back. Obviously, if I run them down, I do enjoy their thought potential of being on this team. And if I see their name pop up on the screen, I will be happy about it. But with the length of this video, I can't go into everyone's statistics and all that stuff and my opinions on them. But those 4 players I just listed, good options also in the 6th round. Now we're moving into the 7th round where the Chargers have 4 picks, 236, 254, 255, and 260. At this point, you're either looking for somebody that fell that was going to go in the 6th round, looking for some people that are maybe younger but with a lot of potential or depth, or trying to steal somebody that you think might go undrafted that has potential. So I did a little bit of both here. Obviously, there's chances of people in the 6th round that I listed earlier falling, but I did some 7th rounders that are young or good depth or really good at a specific task, and I also did some undrafted players in here. And there's one undrafted player that I really like, who I would presume will go undrafted. First things first, Bo Melton, wide receiver out of Rutgers. Super, super fast. Speed wide receiver brings good speed to your team, which is something that the Chargers are missing. Very good news. Next up, Dylan Parham, offensive guard, Memphis. Very, very good leverage for his size. I think he's on the smaller size. I didn't write it, shucks. I think he's on the smaller size, but he's very good leverage for his size. He stays pretty low, and I think he has very good potential. He's very good potential. I watched him. I saw some drafts of people drafting him super, super early, so I don't know if this is PFN's fault or what was going on. I saw some people drafting Dylan Parham on other websites in the 5th round, and I saw one in the 3rd round. I don't know if it was a joke or if Pro Football Network is just really, really wrong about this guy. So if he's this late and on some other places he's going super early, or if PFN was wrong, my apologies. But if he's supposedly a 4th round talent, 5th round talent, and you get him in the 7th round, that is crazy, crazy good potential. And it looks like he has a lot of potential. Now, an undrafted guy that I really enjoy, Trey Berry, tight end out of Boston College. He did transfer colleges, and he has looked great since he did transfer. Very, very large size. He's 6'6", plenty of potential. Reminds me, like imagine having Donald Parham and Trey Berry, 2 huge tight ends who I feel like they're both can be good at the blocking, but they can come down with these very high toss catches. I really enjoy a large tight end that has firm hands. So 6'6" tight end, I really enjoy him. Good potential, and I wrote here could go earlier because again I saw him going. Trey Berry. On the PFN. Now I was a fan of him for a long while. I actually watched a little bit of Boston College at times because I feel like they're always having tight ends, and I knew that the Chargers would need some tight ends after Jared Cook left, and with Parham's potential injury that he might not fully return from. On PFN's little notes that they wrote on him, it said potential to go in the 5th round or something like that. And yeah, he was ranked as an undrafted player, but one of their notes was like, I could see him definitely have the potential to be a 5th rounder. So very, very good news there. For Trey Berry, next up, Jalen Watson, cornerback, Washington State. I think the reason why I'm doing him here in a late round is his turnover potential. He has very, very big hits. He'll punch that ball out when he gets a chance to. And he's also very good at making a break on players, especially in a low zone. Very good at making a break on the ball, which is very, very good news. And he also has great size. He's 6'2", and very good in the contested catch. And then honorable mentions, Nick Ford, interior O-line, Jeremiah Moon, linebacker, and Gene DeLance, offensive tackle. And that's it. That was a long, long video, and I hope I gave enough information for you guys. Go ahead and comment down below who you think would be a great steal. I think my favorite steals are probably Dylan Parham, Trey Berry, or Strong at STSU. And I think Matt Ariza might be my favorite in round 5, just because I don't want to see bad for those teams. But comment who your favorite steal is, and that's going to be it. So give me a like, give me a dislike, subscribe, because I have content like this daily. If you enjoyed this content, go ahead and click on the next one. I'm probably going to have a suggested video, so YouTube's algorithm will figure out what you like. Click on that. Subscribe, because every single one of you is noticed and appreciated. And as always, I hope you learned something today. I hope it made you smile. I hope it made you laugh. That's something that's really important to me. And as always, you guys all be safe out there.